Hello and welcome to something very unique that we do on badcounty.com, and we used to do when we were only a paper newspaper, and that is we share the voters pamphlet with you way ahead of when it comes out, when it's delivered to you, and the courier just can't make room for it. So we're going to tell you tonight what's in the voters pamphlet as far as the arguments, that's what they call them, about the Grants Pass sales tax. And I'm joined by Mike Jones and Bill Hunker. Hello, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Hello, Dale.
Okay, so
Good to see you.
we're not going to try to show you the whole thing with the text because, well, that's very difficult to read, but we will tell you what they say, and we're going to take turns. That's why there's three of us, and they're going to take the con side. They're going to take the side against sales tax, and there's 18 of them, and I'm going to be reading, although it's not in my heart, I will do the best that I can to read for you what the pro sales tax side says. So Mike, why don't you kick it right off, bud?
Okay. Reasons responsible citizens should vote no on 1767, the proposed sales tax.
Mike, sorry to interrupt you, bud. Can you tell us, please, it says right at the top, who wrote that? Can you tell us first who wrote it and then read it, please, if you don't mind?
Sure. This information is furnished by Rob Pell.
Okay.
Okay, reasons responsible citizens should vote no on 1767, the proposed sales tax. The way the city council instructed their attorney to write this measure leaves too much room for their manipulation. Without a vote of the people, the council can change the types of goods and services to be taxed. This is of great concern. Measure 1767 is very poorly written. Also, without a vote of the people, this or a future city council can bring back the water bill fee in any amount they choose. It is permanent, and if enacted, we will have no ability to change, evaluate, or modify it. A Grants Pass only sales tax will devastate many local businesses, large and small. Being the only city in Oregon with a sales tax will practically guarantee that people will buy more whenever they are outside of the GP city limits. When people are in Medford, they will buy more to avoid the GP sales tax, or the GP tax, he says. It's human nature. Also, folks who live halfway between here and Medford or Roseburg will likely avoid shopping in Grants Pass altogether. Even a 5 or 10% reduction in sales will be more than some businesses can absorb. This will cause them to go under, creating more vacancies, higher unemployment, horrible for the local economy and property values. The proposed sales tax is unfairly structured. The city council conveniently made sure that businesses, the councilors and mayor are personally involved in, would be sales tax exempt. Plus, all 10 of the city's largest property taxpayers would no longer pay the $1.79 public safety levy, and all of them have businesses that will be sales tax exempt. That's very interesting. Instead, lower income working people and fixed income seniors will be forced to pay the tab for public safety by paying a sales tax. Vote no on 1767. It's bad for Grants Pass and very poorly written.
Okay, moving on to this information furnished by Jim Rossi. He says, vote no and save our Grants Pass businesses from this permanent, unfair, and biased city sales tax. Sales taxes are permanent and will never go away once in place. Compared to a temporary levy, which does expire, is it fair to tax all Grants Pass restaurants, delis, drive-thrus, and lunch wagons, even when delivered? This tax is forcing the population to eat at home rather than dining out. Is it fair to the small businesses to be forced to pay their 2% sales tax on every item sold under $1,000? Yes, even large businesses with high dollar items will lose sales. Is it fair to make large and small businesses account for every taxable item sold? All businesses will have their books audited by the city. And that's a question. Will they? All businesses will have their books audited by the city, question mark. Is it fair to lay the tax burden only on some of the Grants Pass businesses? How many of the 7 task force members will be exempt? Most, if not all of them, will be exempt from paying the Grants Pass sales tax, which they recommended. The Grants Pass City Council approved this tax, even though the opposition clearly outweighed their decision. Why? Will the Josephine County residents that work in Medford do their shopping in Grants Pass? No, I do not think so. Measure 1767 does not address or cover the bureaucratic administration of the city sales tax. The City Council will define and administer every aspect of this measure 1767 after the voters approve it. Yes, after its approval. The voters will not know what they have just voted on, and neither will the affected businesses until July 1, 2016. Business owners will not be adequately compensated for keeping track of this tax, and they will be subject to government audits at any time. What happens if this tax fails to raise enough revenue? California collects billions in taxes. Why are they broke? Vote no to increasing the size of city government.
Okay, this information furnished by Matt Jackson. Vote no, city sales tax. If the revenue from this proposed city sales tax is going to fund only what the measure states, then where does the money come from to set up and administer this new governmental function? The Grants Pass General Fund? If so, where does the General Fund receive its money? How can the General Fund afford to fund this new bureaucratic sales tax administration forever? Measure 1767 has so many problems with it, there isn't enough room to list them all. 1. The ballot question is misleading. The utility fee tax is scheduled to sunset June 30th, 2016, the day before the city's sales tax will take effect, if passed. 2, the word permanent is missing from the measure, in the measure. A sales tax is permanent. Just ask anyone who's from a city with one. 3, grocery stores and other businesses must collect sales tax on some items and not others. 4, it's unfair to Josephine County residents by forcing them to pay for Grants Pass public safety while city property owners get property tax relief. 5, it's cheating Grants Pass public safety out of revenue secured by the levy passed in 2013 for $1.79 per thousand of assessed value. Measure 1767 does not include any definitions or administration policies which will be determined after November 2015 vote by the Grants Pass City Council. The Grants Pass City Council, this is number 7, the Grants Pass City Council thinks penalizing city businesses is thinking outside the box, while some businesses are still struggling. 8, no business wants the burden of being a tax collector. Some will move, quit, or eat the sales tax. Others will just pass it on to their customers. 9, this city sales tax has the potential of being a bureaucratic nightmare for Grants Pass businesses. Measure 1766 is a bad measure. Ask the Grants Pass Chamber of Commerce and any downtown business. This time, vote no.
Okay, next one provided by information by Bill Wagner. And he says, is the Grants Pass sales tax a fair tax? No. Voters, do you think it's fair that city businesses and owners living outside of Grants Pass have no vote? Voters, do you think it's fair that county residents will have to pay a city sales tax to shop here? Voters, Do you think it's fair that the additional cost to businesses collecting and accounting for the sales tax, their rebate percentage does not even come close to minimum wage? Voters, do you think it's fair to put grants past businesses at a disadvantage over businesses just outside the city limits? And voters, do you really think it's fair of you to impose a destructive sales tax on yourself and local businesses? To gain what? You're trading two taxes that are going to expire anyway for a permanent sales tax. Why? Voters, remember, you have passed a number of public safety property tax levies in the past to protect city residents and businesses, and only when levies were needed as a temporary tax. This city sales tax is not the answer. Vote no to an unfair tax. Question to all grants pass voters. Why would anyone vote for any measure written to deceive the voters? Read the measure's question. It removes the result of your voting from the 2013 levy by cutting it short for the sales tax. It also states that it will eliminate utility tax. But you know,
Okay, I'm not getting all of Bill there, so I'm
And
assuming.
and Mike, could you read that last section that we missed from him, please? Is that going to be hard?
No. Okay. Vote no to an unfair tax. Question to all grants past voters. Why would anyone vote for a measure written to deceive the voters? Read the measure's question. It removes the result of your voting for the 2013 levy by cutting it short for this sales tax. It also states that it will eliminate the utility tax. But you know it expires the day before this sales tax becomes law. It is written so that you will vote for it. That's deception. Don't be deceived. Vote no. Paid for
Thank
by
you.
Bill Wagner.
That's not Bill Hunker's fault that happened. Go ahead and read the last one in this set, please.
The internet vagaries there.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
Oh no, no worries. Okay, this is another argument in opposition. This is furnished by Jim Rafferty here, James Rafferty. We're for a constitutional government recommends a decisive no vote. Public safety sales tax measure 1767 is penalizing the city of Grants Pass businesses in more ways than one. Passage of the above measure will ensure a negative change in Grants Pass, as you are probably aware. If passed, the Grants Pass City Council will be responsible to define how Measure 1767 is implemented and applied, most likely done through numerous city ordinances. This process will be done without voters' approval and must be complete prior to July 1st, 2016. City councilors' task will be very complex, creating a business tax collection department or something equivalent, and the procedures that department will follow, like exceptions to business transactions, resale certificates, garage sale permits, etc. Oh, did you know?
No editorializing.
Well, hey, you know, for crying out loud. Did you know Grants Pass City Council can vote in another utility tax at any time, and probably could have voted in a city sales tax, which might happen if Measure 1767 fails at the polls. Remember, sales tax attempts have been done before and have all failed. This attempt is different in many ways. Measure 1767 states it will eliminate previous taxes. Wrong. The utility tax is due to end just before the July 1st, 2016, and the $1.79 levy will end in 2018, less than 2 years after. Sales taxes are estimated to net over $8 million, but the expense of running the sales tax program is said to be paid from your grants past general fund forever. Because 1767 states that all monies collected will go to its intended use, minus the percentage given back to the businesses for collecting the sales tax, so it isn't 100%. This is not thinking outside the box. It's a smoke and mirror dodge to persuade city voters the best way to stave off the grief and bureaucratic nightmare the Grants Pass city or the Grants Pass businesses are facing is to vote no on Measure 1767. For more up-to-date information, log on to w4acg.com.
Or watch this show. Okay, so it falls upon me to read with some energy of the arguments that are in favor of this sales tax.
Okay, and
yes. Okay. This.
am I reading number 6?
No.
Yeah. Well, I just read number 5, just so you know.
Oh, my apologies, gentlemen. Go ahead.
Okay, so number 6 is furnished by Frank Wright of the Kitchen Company. He says, "We are very concerned with the negative impact Measure 1767 will have on local business in Grants Pass and how it will affect the local economy. Should Grants Pass become the only city in the state of Oregon to pass a sales tax, it would put every retail business and restaurant at an unfair disadvantage with every other business in the state and every website in the world. Business will drop in Grants Pass. The city estimates the sales tax will raise $8 million, which will be offset by the elimination of the property tax levy and of the jail utility fee. We believe with reduced business, much less will be collected, and the city will be worse off than it is now. Measure 1767 is written so that the City Council can add to the types of goods and services subject to taxation. The city would have to tax more items if revenue doesn't meet the projected estimates of their, quotes, experts. The city manager made this argument for a sales tax on the premise that Grants Pass is geographically isolated and that Josephine County shoppers would not drive to Medford to save 2%. He totally missed the flip side. To survive, customers from neighboring counties to travel to Grants Pass to shop. Many tourists from out of
Okay, Mike.
This is a great song.
It does sound a little bit like Cher, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike. You're going to have to read part of that, buddy. So.
Yeah, I'll get it from the city manager down there.
Yeah.
The city manager. Yeah, sorry about that, Bill. The city manager made his argument for a sales tax on the premise that Grants Pass is geographically isolated and the Josephine County shoppers would not drive to Medford to save 2%. He totally missed the flip side. To survive, many businesses need customers from neighboring counties to travel to Grants Pass to shop. Many tourists from out of the state like to shop Oregon tax-free. If Grants Pass becomes the city of sales tax, they will likely shop anywhere else. It will be hard to attract any new business to Grants Pass since they would be handicapped from the get-go. Real estate values would go down, and since who will want to move to the only city in Oregon with a sales tax? Measure 1767 is short-sighted and dangerous. While the city council only sees dollars to spend, we see shuttered storefronts and a devastated local economy. Measure 1767 is a disaster for Grants Pass. Frank Wright and Roy Heinzel, the Kitchen Company.
Wow,
I can't help that. The city of sales tax. Gosh.
Yes, the city of sales tax. Yes, that'll be the new slogan. It'll be "Go Rogue, the city of sales tax."
Wow.
Or go rogue, and that means go to Rogue River.
Okay. All right. Now,
That's kind of sad. Hey, now, Dale, before you start reading, could you tell me what number your one in favor is so that I can reference?
oh, that's number 2. I'm going to start with 2.
Oh.
You'll see. You'll see why. Because number 1 is actually written tongue-in-cheek. And so I'm going to do that last. Okay, so first I'm going to read number 2.
Oh,
And
is this the placement number that you're talking about?
yes,
Because
the placement number on the con pages, on the pro pages, the people that are in favor.
Okay.
There are 18 against, and there are 3.5 in favor, because number 4 is actually it's written tongue in cheek. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Can you tell me which page of the document that is?
no, I don't know. Sorry.
Okay.
I pulled mine up separately. Okay.
All right. Go right ahead.
So this is an argument in favor, and it's written by Dan DeYoung. He's a city council briefs also with Taxpayers for a Better Grants Pass. Yes to safety, yes to justice. The criminal justice sales tax measure will keep city police, fire services, boost funding for adult jail services. It would reopen the Juvenile Justice Shelter Detention Building, closed since 2012, and would boost funding for criminal prosecution services, all while reducing taxes and fees for city residents and businesses. The property tax reduction built into this measure and the jail services utility fee elimination means big savings for both residents and businesses. Many local businesses will save thousands of dollars per year as a result. The measure has unique provisions that you don't normally see in a sales tax program. These unique provisions help make this local sales tax program more accountable and fair to both businesses and consumers. The 2% rate cannot be raised without another vote of the people. Now, there is no tax on many items like unprepared food, prescription medicines, fuel, and many others. The 2% tax is capped at the first $1,000 of sale amounts in each transaction. Therefore, if you buy a new car, the most a sales tax can be is $20. There is a tax rebate to help businesses cover the cost of reporting. The rate is low enough to reduce the negative effects on local businesses. That's the last thing that anybody wants. The 2% and the $1,000 cap is designed so that it wouldn't pay to go to Medford rather than shop locally. Think about the various times that you planned a vacation or recreational trip. Was a sales tax rate for the place that you were going to visit part of your decision-making process? Nope. This won't affect our thriving tourism either. Vote with your conscience, vote with your wallet, and vote yes for the criminal justice sales tax. It's the right thing to do to restore justice services and reduce taxes and fees for Grants Pass residents and businesses.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and this is number 7, argument in opposition. Now, I'm assuming that we're reading these 6-to-1 because that's kind of the ratio, right?
That is exactly the ratio, yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, this is number 7 here, and this information is furnished by Carl Wilson, and I'll throw in a little editorial comment. Carl, it's nice to see you arguing in opposition to a tax.
To any tax, yes, I agree.
Okay. Reject Measure 1767, says local radio station owner. Why am I opposing Measure 1767 and a permanent new sales tax for Grants Pass? Well, you don't have to tell someone who owns a Grants Pass radio station that the local economy is still struggling. We report it in our news stories. We see it in our community. Our Grants Pass economy isn't all it could be or what it used to be. People and businesses are struggling. That's especially true for folks on fixed incomes or low-income workers. I think a $1.6 million a year tax increase in the form of a permanent new sales tax will be bad for our local economy and local residents. I urge Grants Pass voters in the strongest terms to say no to this new 2% sales tax. Grants Pass is not an island unto itself. This $1.6 million a year tax hike will put a damper on demand for goods and services from our local businesses. Customers can and will take their business to nearby businesses where there is no local sales tax. Measure 1767 will put our local stores at a competitive disadvantage. A 2% tax might not seem like much to some of our officials, but it can mean the difference between profitability and unprofitability for local businesses. If people shop elsewhere, and it sure can mean a lot for someone on a fixed income. Another big problem, Measure 1767 would allow the City Council to expand the roster of products and services subject to a 2% sales tax, all without a vote of the people. Please vote against Measure 1767. Carl Wilson, owner, Grants Pass Broadcasting Corp.
Okay, should we try another one from this end?
Sure.
Please do.
Okay, this is number 8, and it is furnished by Dave Thomason. He's with Elmer's, Tap Rock, Northwest Grill, and Human Beans. The proposed Grants Pass sales tax measure being put before the city voters on the upcoming November ballot would cause more problems than it would solve for our community. I do not support any kind of sales tax being implemented in the city of Grants Pass as an answer to solve our funding problems. The hospitality industry has been absolutely battered and bruised by state and federal laws that have made it extremely difficult to continue operating in Oregon with any level of success. Already, thin margins are being wiped out with the additional legislation such as the Affordable Care Act, an upcoming mandatory sick leave law, and a major increase in the minimum wage. The implementation of a sales tax will only add to the burden of trying to operate profitably. I can assure you that when the playing field becomes unbalanced via a sales tax in the city, there will be those who will make their decisions to spend their money elsewhere. There will be those who will choose to spend their money in the county, and others who, while traveling up and down the freeway, will simply bypass Grants Pass. I have no doubt that knowledge of the fact that Grants Pass has a sales tax will spread throughout the state. I believe that the city underestimates the amount of people in Oregon who, no matter what the tax is, are philosophically opposed to paying any sales tax. A combination of a significant increase in the cost of doing business, coupled with any downturn in revenue, will spell disaster for our industry and other small businesses in Grants Pass. At a time when the local economy is still fragile, imposing a sales tax that would discourage consumer spending in Grants Pass is sending the wrong message. We do not need a tax that inhibits businesses and encourages our neighbors and visitors to go elsewhere to spend their hard-earned dollars.
We could hear every word. Thank you. Mike, I got a question for you. Why is Bill sitting there in his pajamas?
I have no idea. But, you know.
I'm about to go to bed after this show.
See, this is what happens when you become a senior citizen. First thing you do is you arrive at your, the local restaurant that you hit up every night at 3:30 or 4 in the afternoon for dinner.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
I hope it's not a commentary about the interest of this show.
And then at 7:30 in the evening, you promptly, have a hot toddy and go to bed.
Well, that's a good idea anyway. Okay. Go ahead, Mike, please.
You quit preaching and done started meddling.
Ah, yes. Okay, let's see here. That was number 8. This is number 9. Argument in opposition. This information furnished by Tina Gottschall, Powderhorn Cafe, LLC. Measure 1767 will hurt my restaurant and my customers. One thing about the restaurant business is that people have choices when it comes to eating. I always remember that my Grants Pass restaurant at my Grants Pass, I always remember that at my Grants Pass restaurant. See, that's hungry customers can walk to the place up the street or drive to a spot in the next town over, or they can stay home and eat. That's why I cannot understand what this city council is doing, asking us to approve Measure 1767's new permanent 2% sales tax to fund public safety. It's hard enough running a restaurant when the economy is still struggling, but Measure 1767 would put a restaurant like mine and other Grants Pass businesses at a competitive disadvantage. My customers could very well decide to drive to other places in neighboring communities that don't have a 2% sales tax or stay home. Believe me, price matters to today's customers, particularly to those on fixed incomes. Why would you want to make it harder for local businesses like mine to get by? Why does the council want to increase costs for fixed income or low income Grants Pass workers? Aren't things tough enough without adding a $1.6 million tax increase that will depress demand for goods and services from local businesses, including my restaurant? The only thing I can figure is that they want another permanent tax to increase in addition to property taxes. But this is no way to fund public safety. 1767's 2% sales tax includes no provision to reduce or eliminate the tax if public safety funding comes available. Worse, it would let our city council add to the list of goods and services that can be taxed without a vote of the people. I support our local public safety and want to see our town thrive. Measure 1767 will not support growth and success in business. That's why I'm voting against Measure 1767 and urge you to do likewise. Tina Gottschall, owner, Powderhorn Cafe.
Okay, number 10. This is furnished by John Giffen Gates. They have Gates Furniture. He says, Measure 1767, the 2% sales tax, is a new tax that I cannot support in the current form for various reasons. One, this new tax gives property owners like myself a tax break at the expense of those citizens who cannot afford to own property. The approximately 50% of Grants Pass residents rent their homes. These individuals have no safety levy and will have the added expense of a new sales tax places a burden on just one sector of our economy, the retail trade. And in parens, to be more equitable and a lower percentage, all industries should participate. And three, we rely on our Jackson County clientele to keep us in the black, and I fear that any sales tax could present a deterrent in making the drive to Grants Pass. It is a small tax, but a psychological barrier. If we choose to absorb this tax at 2% for our buyers, we would reduce our bottom line by 30 to 40%. We strive for a 5% bottom line profit. And number 4, I am not a fan of bigger government, and I really fear for the costs in administering and auditing this new tax. Please join me in voting no on Measure 1767. Sincerely, Giff Gates, Gates Furniture, Grants Pass Org.
All right. This is number 11. This is furnished by Lowell Gibson, Recognition Specialties. We all wanted to live in a safe and prosperous community, but the Grants Pass City Council has erred badly in asking voters to add a new and permanent 2% sales tax to fund public safety programs. The council has unwisely pitted safety against prosperity in asking voters to approve the Measure 1767 sales tax in this election. This is a disservice to Grants Pass residents and our small businesses. Adding a brand new local sales tax to our property tax is a bad idea, even if the goal is to fund public safety programs. Another permanent tax is not what Grants Pass needs today, particularly a sales tax that the City Council could expand to additional products and services without a vote of the people. The $1.6 million tax increase in this sales tax proposal would hurt our local economy, which continues to struggle. Grants Pass businesses are trying to grow demand for their goods and services. We're not asking the City Council to help. We're simply asking it not to hurt local merchants by depressing consumer demand for our wares and putting us at a competitive disadvantage with merchants in communities without a sales tax. Measure 1767 would do all that. This new permanent sales tax would make things tougher for customers, many of whom are low income or getting by on fixed incomes. A 2% increase in Grants Pass prices on top of regular price increases would really hurt them and ultimately our businesses. I know public officials often have to make tough choices. I get that. But asking voters to either approve a permanent new sales tax or risk our public safety is a false choice. Grants Pass voters should refuse this false choice and reject the Measure 1767 sales tax. Lowell Gibson, owner, Recognition Specialties.
Good. Number 12. This is provided by Rick Chapman of Plaza Sewing, Quilting, and Vacuum Center. He says, my customers can't afford a permanent new local sales tax, and neither can my Grants Pass business. My shop sells fabrics and vacuums in downtown Grants Pass. We love serving our customers, but running a small business is always a challenge. The competition is everywhere, thanks to the internet and the big box stores. It's better these days, but still not great, especially for our local economy. That's why I'm doing something I've never done before, writing to my fellow Grants Pass voters and asking you to consider all your local small businesses and our customers when you vote in Measure 1767. Measure 1767 is not the right way to fund public safety programs in our community. A new and permanent 2% sales tax would put our local businesses at a competitive disadvantage with businesses in neighboring communities without sales tax. Our customers become more price sensitive each year. Many are fixed income seniors and other working low-income residents in Grants Pass. This permanent new sales tax will increase their costs. That's not good for them, and that's not good for the local Grants Pass businesses we would like them to patronize. Our local economy is already struggling. Measure 1767 is a tax of $1.6 million. It will just make it worse by discouraging demand for goods and services from our local businesses. People who already have appointments in Medford will intentionally spend more money while they're there. Beyond its harm to local businesses and our customers, Measure 1767 would create a permanent new sales tax, in addition to the property tax, and allow the Grants Pass City Council to add to the list of a lot of items that can be taxed without the vote of the people. My love for this town and our great local business is more important than my wallet. Please join me in voting against Measure 1767 to this local sales tax while you and Chapman own Plaza Sewing and Vacuum Center.
Mike, would you read those last couple of sentences, please?
Okay. My love for this town and our great local business is more important than my wallet. Please join me in voting against Measure 1767 to stop this local sales tax while you can. Rick Chapman, owner, Plaza Sewing, Quilting, and Vacuum Center. And, normally I'm a pretty conservative guy, and I don't gripe about stuff like this, but there's some labor inequity going on here.
It's not my fault. They're trying to save your bottom.
Yes, but hey, we can read arguments in opposition just as much as we can arguments in
No,
favor.
you can't because
Uh,
I'm reading them for one, and
oh, yes.
second,
What? That's your white privilege. That's your white privilege.
there's so very few of them, Mike,
Check your white privilege, pal.
so, and I want everybody to notice this thing with Bill dropping out like this. See, it's already affecting the internet. This whole thing is.
Yes, right. Yes.
Okay. So
2% sales tax.
this argument in favor is furnished by Tom Brandis. Just so that you know, Tom Brandis was on the committee that drafted this whole thing. It's called Restore Justice Safety Services and Lower Your Taxes. The city of Grants Pass relies partly on Josephine County criminal justice system, which is underfunded. As our public safety chief says, we can have a cop on every corner, but it won't do any good unless the rest of the system is available. The adult jail, juvenile justice, and prosecution services. The criminal justice sales tax on the ballot for the Grants Pass voters this November could restore funding to the justice services the city relies on, retain our current level of services in city police and city fire services while lowering taxes and fees for Grants Pass residents and businesses. Sound too good to be true? It's not. Rather than tie all fees for public safety and justice services to property taxes and utility fees, the very low 2% sales tax spreads the burden among everyone that uses the system rather than just those that live within the city of Grants Pass. The sales tax will provide enough revenue to eliminate the city's $1.79 public safety property tax levy and maintain city police and fire services. It will also provide enough revenue to eliminate the city's jail services utility fee and provide extra funding for county criminal justice services. A home with an average assessed value of about $155,000 will save about $311 per year from this tax and fee reduction. If your assessed value is $250,000, your household will see a tax and fee reduction of about $482 per year. Do the math on how many taxable items you would have to purchase to even come close to these amounts, and you'll find this is a big tax fee reduction for Grants Pass residents and businesses. The measure retains current city police fire services while boosting funding for criminal justice services. The money can't be spent on anything except public safety and criminal justice services. Vote yes to restore justice and lower your taxes fees.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to be off for the next couple of days here because of all this extra work that we're putting in, and then Dale, he'll be doing the show by himself.
Well,
so,
how will anybody notice? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. This is argument number 13, and this is furnished by Colleen Martin, Grants Pass, and Josephine County Chamber of Commerce. From your Chamber of Commerce, please vote no on Measure 1767 to stop the local sales tax. That's my message on behalf of the Grants Pass Chamber of Commerce. As the Chamber's president/CEO, I can tell you it's not always easy to find a consensus among our members. We're a diverse group of strong-minded businessmen and women. We represent more than 500 businesses of varying size, and we have to be strong-minded to survive in today's economy. The message from members is that they want voters to know that 1767 Measure 1767 is a bad idea for Grants Pass, bad for local taxpayers, bad for local businesses and our customers. How? Number one, Measure 1767 would create a permanent new sales tax and allow Grants Pass City Council to add to the goods and services that can be taxed without a vote of the people. Number two, Measure 1767 would give city officials another permanent tax to increase in addition to property taxes. Number three, this new 2% sales tax would put our local businesses at a competitive disadvantage with businesses in neighboring communities without sales taxes. Number four, Measure 1767's permanent new sales tax will increase the cost for fixed income seniors and low income workers. Number five, our local economy is already struggling. Measure 1767 is a tax increase of $1.6 million. This will make our economy worse by discouraging demand for goods and services from local businesses. The Grants Pass Chamber of Commerce has always cared about adequate funding for public safety. Our members know a safe community is good for our businesses and customers. But for the reasons above, Measure 1767, a new permanent sales tax that can be expanded without a vote of the people, is a bad way to fund public safety programs. Please vote no on Measure 1767 and stop the local sales tax. Colleen Martin, President/CEO of Grants Pass in Josephine County Chamber of Commerce.
The information
14, yes.
This is Lithia Grants Pass Auto Center. He says, fellow local voters, the Grants Pass City Council's Measure 1767 is an open checkbook. A no vote on Measure 1767 is the only way to keep an Oregon State zero sales tax culture in our city. Measure 1767 would cripple an already struggling Grants Pass economy. Measure 1767 would create a permanent new sales tax. Measure 1767 would allow the Grants Pass City Council to expand the list of taxable items without a vote of the people. Measure 1767 would give city officials
Mike.
power to increase sales tax without a vote of the people. Losing it, huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
Sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Okay, where were we at there, if you don't mind me asking?
Every expansion in the center of the page there, every expansion would be voted.
Okay. Okay. Every expansion should be voted on by the local voters, not decided by city officials. Measure 1767 does not restrict city officials from reinstating property taxes at any level they wish. Measure 1767 does not restrict potential sales tax on property sales. There is no itemized budget or detailed plan for the use of taxes created by Measure 1767. Measure 1767 will put our local businesses at a competitive disadvantage with businesses in neighboring communities without a sales tax. That sounds familiar. Lost revenue will lead to increased prices, ultimately creating inflation in our local economy. The local tourism economy in Grants Pass is seasonal and usually greatly decreased in winter months. There would be no potential revenue stream for approximately 6 months of the year from tourism. Measure 1767 is short-sighted and will harm our local economy. Less revenue by local businesses will lead to higher costs and cuts in staffing. Vote no on Measure 1767 and stop the local sales tax. Okay, that was 14 right now. I've got to find out where 15 is here. So stand by a second while I do that. Yes. Okay. This information furnished by Tony Webb. Argument against sales tax would sales tax will be a disaster for Grants Pass businesses. Imagine for a moment that Medford votes in a sales tax. Next day, all newspapers in Oregon will carry front page headline, only city in Oregon to have a retail sales tax. Southern Oregon businesses will be advertising, come to our town, we don't have a sales tax. Local sales will drop as shoppers bundle purchases when in other cities. Businesses will be forced to lay off employees or even close. Sales tax will increase city bureaucracy. New department created, more employees, benefits, PERS, paperwork. Businesses will be subject to an audit at any time. Substantial penalties even if the business owner makes an honest mistake. Examples: nuts are exempt unless they are honey roasted. Garage sales that happen more than 4 days a year will have to register with the city and collect a sales tax. Sales tax is a bureaucratic dream and a business nightmare. Vote no. Sales tax revenue is a guesstimate. Comparables used to guesstimate the revenue were cities in Washington state with substantially higher income per person, meaning more disposable income. City Council never asked the task force, is this a good idea? Never did a poll to see if the people wanted a sales tax. Didn't survey businesses. If the revenue is not sufficient, more businesses can be forced to add sales tax. City Council can bring back the jail utility fee without your vote. What happened to job creation? People without jobs or low incomes can't afford more taxes. We've gone for years without a plan to create jobs. Vote no. Leave the current levy in place. Tell the council to focus on job creation. Get more information, www.grantspassoregon.com.
Or badcounty.com.
Yes.
Okay, do you want me to stumble into another one?
Sure, why not?
Well, my apologies to Sandy Casanelli ahead. This is number 816, and it's provided by Sandy Casanelli. She says, don't be deceived. Just vote no. Consider the following. The jail utility fee sunsets automatically the day before the sales tax goes into effect. Your vote will not eliminate them. They deceptively included this as a bait to get you to pass a measure. This sales tax is permanent. They purposely did not include a sunset date in the measure. Mark Bartholomew, the city attorney, testified in court that the city council could have implemented this sales tax without a vote of the people. However, it would be politically difficult to do so. They want your vote for expediency. If city people don't want to pay the $1.79 property tax levy, simply vote no when it's up for renewal in a couple of years. The levy sunsets automatically on June 30, 2018. Don't exchange a limited 2 years of property taxes for a never-ending sales tax. Are we still good, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In the voters' pamphlet, November 5 of 2013, Richard Michelin, retired CPA and former city councilor, wrote, quotes, the city's statement that the levy would only fund police and fire is untrue, unquote. Quote, we have had 4 years of the $1.79 supplemental tax levy, half of it and doubling the city's general fund bank account, unquote. From this past behavior, do you really trust the city to dedicate the sales tax money to public safety and criminal justice services. County people are overwhelmingly opposed to this sales tax. It will not force them to pay for these city services. County and out-of-state people will simply shop elsewhere. If you think businesses look sparse along 6th Street now, you just wait until sales tax goes into effect. You will be harming your city far more than you will be punishing the county. Only the city electorate will vote on this. It could pass by a small, simple majority if you don't get out and vote to actively defeat this permanent sales tax. Don't be manipulated. Vote no on Measure 1767.
I felt like I was listening to old-time radio there for a couple of minutes. A report from about the Hindenburg. You could have told us, oh, the humanity, and don't vote for the sales tax. Okay, this is number 17, and this is furnished by Vivian Kirkpatrick Pilger, Josephine County Republican Women. In other states that have sales taxes, they never go away. They only get higher. As a county, we have rejected tax levies on multiple occasions, going down to defeat by large margins. The city indicated that they could put this tax on without voter approval, but thought it would be wise politically. So they chose to put it on the ballot and let only the city residents vote on it. We must realize that a sales tax will affect our businesses. We all know how many empty storefronts we see every day now. Most everyone that lives in Josephine County shops in the city of Grants Pass. The rural residents, however, are used to driving further distances and will likely take their shopping needs to Medford and just add the items that they normally shop for in Grants Pass to their lists to their shopping list for Medford. In exchange, the city says it will lift the previously voted upon local option city public safety tax, which expires in 2018 anyway, and the jail tax, which they call a fee, currently on the sewer bills. This shows you two things. You voted on the first one, and they can lift it at any time. You didn't vote on the second one, and you still got billed for it. In the future, the 2% sales tax proves not enough. If the future sales tax proves to not be enough, they will raise it. There are no promises about the exemptions either. There are many of them now, but will they begin to eliminate these exemptions? The city has pretty much free hand to raise taxes, and they can change what businesses are exempt from that tax as well. Does Grants Pass want to be known as the only city in Oregon with a sales tax? Since the city can institute this tax without a vote, they can certainly raise it without a vote.
Okay. And number 18, and this information is provided by Richard Emmons. He says, the people of Grants Pass must reject the proposed permanent sales tax so we won't get overtaxed like our neighbors in California. The California sales tax began in 1933 at 2.5% and now is 10% in some cities. California also has high property taxes and a high income tax. Why bring this on ourselves? The proposed 2% sales tax exempts over 70% of the businesses in Grants Pass. These sales tax exemptions can be removed in the future with a simple majority of the city council without putting it before the voters. This could triple the number of businesses subject to the sales tax. You could pay the sales tax every time you go to the barber, the hairdresser, or get your estate plan updated at your local attorney. Can you afford this? Once in place, the sales tax rate of 2% can be increased in future elections. There is no limit on how high the sales tax rate can go. This means an affordable sales tax may now become an unaffordable tax burden in the future. Why take the risk? No other city in Oregon as a retail sales tax. Let's not make Grants Pass be the first. Please vote no on this permanent and risky sales tax. Richard Emmons, City of Grants Pass.
Okay, so now it falls upon me the tough duty of reading two of these in a row, and you'll see why I get two in a row.
Oh, and I expect this to be very dramatic.
Well, this one's written by Roy Lindsay.
Then it ought to be really dramatic.
Now, also
I'm looking forward to this.
For a better Grants Pass.
He'll read it with total objectivity as well.
Yes, I will. Save 30% on city property taxes, and even a bit more, including ending of the jail bed utility fee? How can that be? Public safety involves 4 essential activities: police, jail, juvenile justice, and prosecution. Grants Pass has benefited from a well-staffed and professional police force. However, the other 3 services have been depleted because of lack of funding at the county level. Your city council took measures to mitigate the impact of lack of jail space by contracting for up to 30 beds at the county jail. Also, an upcoming property tax levy has an updated property tax levy has been needed for several years to supplement funding for public safety. 100% of property taxes goes to public safety. Together with the levy and jail bed utility fee, the residents have been better served, but not fully. Just a second, please. It is time to realize that sufficient county funding is not going to be realized in the foreseeable future. The city is now faced with the responsibility of ensuring that all 4 activities receive sufficient funding to meet city needs. Take the burden off of property taxpayers has been heard. Your city council looked into alternative funding. The result of extensive analysis is a proposal for a small retail sales tax in Grants Pass. A mere 2% tax will provide sufficient funding for city public safety needs, and it will allow the levy to be eliminated as well as the city jail bed utility fee. That is how it is possible to achieve a 30% reduction in property taxes. 30 jail beds, opening the Juvenile Justice Center, and contracting for an additional DA will be made possible by the public safety sales tax. It makes sense to do this. Do not be misled by false claims or incomplete information. Verify the facts at, and there's no way I can read that email address. It's long. Anyway, vote yes on 1767. Now, I've got one more here, and this one is written in a very intelligent way. Just a second. This one is written, oh my gosh. Okay. This purports to be an argument in favor, but it's actually written tongue-in-cheek. Okay. This information furnished by Jack Brown Jr., Josephine County Constitution Party. It's titled, "The Joys of a Righteous Tax Are About to Rain Down Upon Us." We could probably laugh about this because of the way he wrote it. The sales tax, the tax that you usually avoid and do so quite legally. I really do like the idea of a sales tax as a replacement for property tax. However, it only produces revenue when it is geographically widespread in its application. When two geographic areas are different in their tax policies, the taxpayers will migrate to the one most satisfactory for him. I expect the Grants Pass sales tax will be a benefit to all businesses outside the city limits and even across the county line. If you can save an automatic 2% by going to Cave Junction, Selma, Murphy, Merlin, and Rogue River, won't you, especially if you're otherwise subsidizing a city where you don't reside? The small business owners in Grants Pass with employees who shut down because they lose business will all have less to spend. But we can put up with that if we think that we're soaking the non-resident. The city's largest property taxpayers will benefit from not continuing to pay the $1.79 property tax levy, a savings that will not be offset by them paying sales tax on local goods at all. Think about Walmart and Fred Meyer, for example. What are their properties worth that they will now have less taxes on? Will they spend the savings on local goods? What about the local business property landlords with multiple vacancies and the speculators with unsold developments? This sales tax will benefit the non-resident rich. Please vote for it. To those voting no, the positions of the various city councilors are quite clear. If you choose to maintain the status quo, you should consider voting out the ones who wanted to give you changes and less of it. And if you vote no, let me read that again. If you choose to maintain the status quo, you should consider voting out the ones who wanted to give you change and less of it. And if you vote no and lose, you can always vote again, this time with your feet, when you make untaxed purchases outside the city limits. Jack Brown Jr., Grants Pass.
Mm-hmm.
So, gentlemen, that seems to be it for this evening. That's more than enough, isn't it?
Yes, I think so.
And Bill, is it more than enough for you, sir?
Well, I had so much more to say, but I'll forego.
You know, when he comes up as a black screen, it's just kind of like a blank look on his face, Mike.
Yes.
He's doing everything that he can. He's just not trying hard enough. Okay, thank you, everyone, for joining us. Nothing is perfect. We're doing the best that we can. We are bringing you these voters' pamphlet statements way ahead of everybody else. We also have posted this for you to read. It's a little difficult to read some of it. It's a very small type. But here's your chance. This was your chance to hear all of it. And we're glad to bring this to you. See, Daily Courier, it is very simple to do this. You just have to care.